Hello, and thank you for listening to another podcast of the Gospel Rescue Mission. My name is Brian Boteller, and today we are doing an interview with our resident, Kim Day, and also with our women's coordinator and my beautiful bride, Shauna Boteller. We are just checking in with Kim to find out how she was doing and what her stay's been like so far, kind of find out where she's come from and where she's headed. It's a really great interview. I hope you enjoy. My name's Brian. I'm the Director of Resident Services for the Gospel Rescue Mission. And for those who don't know everybody here, have you introduce yourself?
I'm Shauna Boteller. I'm the Women's Coordinator for the mission.
Okay, and you are?
Kimberly Day, and I've been a resident here since May 26.
Since May 26. So that was of 2020?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And really, what's cool about resident interviews to me is that, again, we get to tell people your story. It's one thing for me or Shauna to go into the community and say, hey, you know, we really do some cool stuff over there and it's really fun. And you know, people go, yeah, of course, this is what you do for a living. You know, why wouldn't you say good things about what you do? You know, and I think there's skepticism sometimes about that from the outside. You know, can it really be that great? Are you really that effective? Are there really great things going on at the Gospel Rescue Mission? Because they hear things in the community, and I never cease to be amazed at the bizarre things that get shared within the community, usually from former residents, people who stopped in for a night or two or whatever, didn't understand what was going on, didn't like it, and they end up just spewing all kinds of weird things about the Gospel Rescue Mission. So having a resident come in and talk and tell them a little bit about your story, tell people about who you are, what's going on, I think kind of diffuses a lot of that. Plus, I think it also helps the people that maybe either are considering coming in, giving them some hope that maybe this is the right place for me. And then for those that donate and contribute to the mission, help them see, hey, wow, you know, man, I'm really being effective by contributing to the Gospel Rescue Mission, and that's powerful. So and you're exciting because you didn't bring the mission T-shirt, but you just showed me your mission T-shirt that you paid for with your own money on your own. I was so excited when you showed me that. Mm-hmm. I was like, wow, you would want to buy that, and you love the T-shirt.
I actually wore it the other day already.
Yeah?
Really?
Awesome.
That's cool.
That's good. I hope to see that thing worn out and get you another one. So, Kim, you know, we see a lot of girls come in, and there's a lot of different stories. You know, would you be willing to share, just as comfortable as, you don't have to share all the dirty details or anything like that, but as comfortable as you might be willing to share kind of what was going on in your life that led you into the Gospel Rescue Mission?
You know, divorce, change of lifestyle. I moved here to Grants Pass, and things just didn't go as planned. So I sabotaged everything because of my addiction, and I found myself in the deepest hole.
When you say your addiction, what kinds of things were you using at the time?
I was using drugs, drinking,
Okay.
and just doing stuff that, you know, that I avoided for many years because, you know, I was successful for many years, and I did manage to turn my life around.
Okay.
And then when things just started falling apart, I dove right back into, you know,
To cope.
to drinking, I worked at 7,000 feet. There wasn't really much else to do
Right.
when there's 20 feet of snow on the ground. So
You were at a resort back then
I was
that
in
you
Sequoia
worked at.
National Park.
Wow.
And I worked there for 16 years.
Wow.
And I worked at 7,200 feet. So at the end of the day, you know,
Right.
when you put the guests to sleep, that's what I always called it. There's not much else to do, so everybody just kind of hangs out.
Right.
Being divorced and having moved back up to the park away from my marriage home because we had a house down in there. And since I had a place to go, I was the one that, and my choice to leave, I left that.
Okay.
So it was just, it was lonely. And because it's like you either sit here and dwell on everything or you get out there and have fun.
Gotcha.
Right.
And that's what I did. Wasn't the right kind of fun. And then I just, that kind of caught up with me, and then I started missing work. And as a manager, it was really humiliating that I lost my job because of that.
Yeah.
And then I left there, and I came here, and just living with my sister was just like, it was just humiliating, everything. It was just, I don't know. So the more I tried, the more I even actually got a job at the hospital, cleaning their residents' rooms, and it was so humiliating. So I just kept sabotaging it, and I kept doing it. And then my sister's husband started hitting on me, and that was even, to me, it was more humiliating because I put myself in that position. What he did was wrong, but why was I there? I put myself in that, and I didn't even do anything wrong. But my sister was at work, and it was just, I'm like, I don't belong here. So I left. And then I ended up in a hotel room with my dog going, what am I going to do next?
Wow.
So, and then I got drunk, and I don't know what, I passed out at the wheel of the car.
Oh, boy. Oh.
And I crashed into two cars. One car that crashed into another car, and I found myself in jail.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
And I lost my dog, and that was really hard for me, and
Sure.
it still is.
Sure.
Because he was a part of me.
Sure.
He was
He
like
was your
my
kid.
son.
Yeah.
Because I don't have any kids, but and that was probably the worst thing to me. I don't care about anything else. I care about, and I hope and I pray and I know God take care of him, and that he has a right home.
Yeah.
I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I still think of him every day.
Yeah.
But so I did 60 days in jail, and I thought, okay, well, never been to jail before. I never got in trouble, never in my life. And I'm like, even people told me, what did you do? You don't belong here.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Hey, and
no,
it could have been worse.
Yeah.
I mean, golly, it could have been so much worse. So,
could have been.
praise God that it wasn't worse than it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I thank God every day that nobody got hurt. I got 4 broken ribs, and the people, I think they got some cracked ribs, and I could have killed them.
Yeah.
I could have killed them.
That's so scary.
And, I could have killed myself. It was horrific.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when I went to jail, I said, well, this is, I wish it would. I told them, I'm like, well, I wish I, wouldn't have made it through or whatever. And it was even more humiliating because they put me in like this turtle suit. They call it the turtle suit. I don't know what you. It's this thing you put over, and you have nothing. There's no way you can hurt yourself.
Right.
Basically, and you give you the plastic. And I'm like, this is not me.
So they were really concerned about your
they thought I
mental
was gonna
health,
kill
though, at that
myself.
point, because
Because of
you'd
one
gone
thing
through a
I
lot.
said. But you know what? That one thing I said, they don't know me.
Right? How could they know otherwise?
Yeah,
Right.
and
Right.
I understood that.
Yeah.
And so after they see me for a couple of days, I finally got to talk to a counselor 4 days later.
Wow.
We were talking no shower, nothing for 4, and it was just like, so I talked to somebody from Options, and I told them I had no intention of hurting myself, and so they're like, well, we trust her, let her. So after that, and then it took them 2 weeks to build up that, and then I started getting out to general population. I could start coming out and being with the other girls, and I think it gave me a lot of time to think.
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep, and I didn't eat for the first week because you don't know what you're eating. So, and I was scared to eat. So eventually you start eating, and eventually I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be okay.
Right.
But then I started talking to Options a lot, and Option was telling me about the mission, And, because I was like, I don't know what to do. And I told them, nobody else's fault.
Yeah.
I am so guilty. It doesn't matter what the judge gives me.
Right.
Look what I did.
Yeah.
And they said they never heard anybody say that before.
Yeah.
Wow.
Usually it's like, somebody else's fault or whatever. But it's like, this is all on me. So they really helped me. And they talked to me. And they're still helping me to this day.
That's good.
It's a mission and options that really has helped me get to where I'm okay. Not okay, but I will be.
The Bible says that God resists the proud but gives grace to the humble. And you were in this process where you kept using this word, it was humiliating. But humiliating is designed to bring humility, right? It's to humble us. And so there's that time, and I've talked to more and more people. The ones that seem to do the best that come through the mission really come at that spot where they've stopped trusting in their own ways. They've been humiliated enough and humbled enough to where they go, whatever I'm doing, I haven't been doing it right. I need to listen to somebody else. I need the advice of somebody else because I keep trying to fix it. And I'm not fixing it right. I'm not seeing, everything that I do to fix it just seems to make it worse. So I'm going to stop trusting me. Can you guys help me? And that's where, that's where it's so good to have somebody from Options, good counselors, solid counselors, and then to have them that they, recommended us to you and everything. I mean, we've seen, we've had this pretty solid partnership over the years, just because. Because there's not a lot of other places in town, but even if there were, I think what they have found and what a lot of our partner agencies find is that, wow, you know what, the ones that do good here do really good, man. They just real change happens, and I think that I need to. That humility, that kind of that spot of brokenness is really actually a good spot when they come in.
Yeah.
And you were in the jail for 60 days? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. And that's when COVID broke out. So all we did was see it on the news, and we were like, oh. And I was like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen when I get out of here? There's going to be no food on the shelf. There's going to be nothing.
Everything was shut down at the time you got out.
All I could see was apocalypse.
Oh man, yeah, it looked like the end of the world.
All I see was what was on the news, and it was really scary.
Yeah.
But I learned to be okay in there. I read the Bible, and I tried to stay away from the girls that all they cared about was doing the dope. I just tried to stay. I met a few girls in there that I met one girl named Penny that she was kind of like my Jennifer in there, and we got really close. And but I just kind of stayed to myself because I didn't want to. I was like, these are the wrong kind of friends to have.
No, that's good.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good.
And it wasn't like them because obviously I'd never been to jail before, and I really didn't have any stories to tell. So
right. Well, now you got street cred and you're a gangster.
I know. I was like, should I get a tattoo when I got out? And I'm like, no, because this isn't me.
That's right. That's right.
And I thought, well, I'm gonna get a tattoo when I get out. I've been to jail, and I'm like, but that's not me.
No.
That's not the kind of person that I've changed. I come from a family of addiction. We've been doing drugs ever since we could,
Yeah.
And there was times in my life.
What's the earliest age you remember using?
Probably 14.
14.
Smoking pot.
Yeah.
And then I got a boyfriend that when I was 16, he slammed dope, but I
Okay.
never did because I was scared to death of it. I
Yeah.
seen what it did to people, and
Yeah.
it scared me, and I still never did. But I started selling it for him at school so we could make money to party on the weekends, and
Gotcha.
I
Yeah.
still didn't use it until I was like 17.
Yeah.
And then I married a man, not him, but I married a man that introduced all my brothers and sisters to meth.
Ah.
And they still do it to this day in California. They're meth addicts. But
Wow.
me, I even stopped through the years because I'm like, I want to go to dental school. I went to dental assistant school.
Wow.
I stopped using for 5 years, during this, when I was like 28, 23. Because I wanted to be, and I'm not the type of person that can go to work and be high.
Right.
Right.
I know a lot of people that can do that. Not me. I'll dig a hole and stay in my house before I go out in public high.
Right.
I'm just
Yeah.
not that kind of person, because I'm like, they know I'm high.
Right. Right.
And it's
Girls
humiliating.
got to have her standards, right?
It's
Yeah.
humiliating. So, so I did. I worked for 5 years, and my mom died.
Oh wow.
And my grandma died, and then my mom died. Well, my mom was homeless here in Oregon when she died, here in Grants Pass.
Oh.
And actually Medford, but she was homeless and she fell off a train.
Oh.
You know how they get on the trains, and
Uh huh.
my mom fell off a train.
Oh.
So being homeless is really,
How old were you when
that
that
scared the
happened?
hell out of me when I thought I was going to be homeless.
Oh, right.
I was 28 when my mom died, and I had been working a really good job. Well, when my mom died and we got that phone call, and nobody's mother should die like that. Nobody's mother should die, but like that. And
Yeah.
then we didn't find out till 3 days later. It was like, give me the dope.
Wow.
I don't want to
Right.
feel.
Right.
Because it was horrific. And I quit my job because I couldn't do dope and do my job.
Extremely
One of the two
painful.
had to
Dental
give, and so you're going to the dope. Job had to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then I took my brothers and sisters that were in foster home because she had them here. They were younger, and I tried, but they were out of control. They were breaking my windows, and they were just like, they were just out of control. I couldn't handle them kids.
Wow.
And so I had to put them back in the foster home. And that hurt, especially, I feel like I let them all down. I got 7 brothers and sisters, so,
Wow.
and I'm the oldest.
Wow.
So when they're hurting, I
Yeah.
hurt.
Yeah,
Because
sure.
I have to be the one to help them. And it's always been that way.
Yeah.
My mom was beat by some man for 18 years.
Wow.
And I couldn't live in the house because I made it worse. Because I constantly tried to stick up for her. And I'm like, and
So he
I'm
said
like
you
the
couldn't
type
be there,
that,
huh?
I'm like the type that, like, you're better than that. You don't need him, and I picked up a baseball bat, tried to protect her.
Wow.
She got beat way worse because of it.
Oh.
I couldn't live there, so it's just been like that my whole life. So I never really lived anywhere more than 6 months since I was 11 years old.
Wow.
And I just went to my aunt's house, my grandma's house.
Just bounced around.
Just bounce around.
Yeah.
I loved them all and they loved me. But
Sure.
when I started losing them when I got older, they weren't there no more because, people pass on. It just got worse. And then now I just like, or then I just felt like, okay, now what, And now I found all I have is my brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
But they all have their lives and their kids.
Right.
So it's just me.
Yeah.
I don't have any kids, so it's lonely that way. And that's, I think, how this time getting divorced really affected me
Sure.
because I felt like, now what?
Yeah.
And I went
Yeah.
to my sister's house, and she's got her life and I'm like, I don't belong here.
Yeah.
And then when I went to jail and I got out of jail, I didn't know what to do.
Right.
And so I went to Travelodge, and I stayed there for like 5 weeks. Probably my second weekend, I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? I'm still freaking out. I started mixing up with the people I went to jail with. They got out of jail,
Sure. Sure.
and then they're like, well, and I'm like, it was my birthday.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, I'm sitting here alone. it was a week and a half before my birthday. And so I was like, let's do some dope. Not me, I didn't say it, but somebody did. And I was just like, okay. Well, I did, and then they left, and I was like, where am I finding myself here alone?
Right.
In a hotel room with all these people outside, the scary people, I call them, because I don't want to live my life like them. Not, that's, they're bad, but it's just, that's not me, who I want to be. And so that's when I said, okay. So I came up to the mission that week. And I talked to Jennifer and Tammy. I didn't know them, but and they're like, well, when you come, you have to bring everything with you. I'm like, okay, I finally found it, and by then I had started going to On Track. I made myself get off my butt and start my treatment.
Okay.
And so then I told the counselor there, I'm like, this is my plan, and she said, I think that's a good plan. So I had that talking to her, and I was talking to Jamie, who was my counselor.
At Options.
So it just all came together, and then finally, I started watching your video.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, do it, just do it, What made me come to the mission is I wanted structure in my life again.
Yeah.
Because, I'm a very independent person.
Yeah.
You've
had to be.
I love being a manager up at the lodge.
Yeah.
And holding that whole department together, and taking care of my staff, and it's just that's one part about my marriage. It's like I was too independent, I think,
Okay.
But I like that, and I was just like, I lost myself doing that.
Yeah.
And so I was even afraid to make a phone call. I had so much anxiety that I couldn't even bring myself to call to make a phone call. So I would take one day and make one phone call.
Yeah.
Just one thing. Just do one thing today.
Yeah.
And I should be able to do a lot more than that, but...
Well, but you were coming at it
couldn't.
from a pretty broken spot,
Yeah, you were
and-
healing at that point,
Yeah. The one thing, we noticed right away from you, I mean, after you kind of got past your nerves, the nervousness of every, who are everybody and how they're going to treat me and everything was once we saw you kind of start to relax and the tension start to drop in your shoulders and you're just kind of, oh, okay, I actually think I might like some of these people and they might like me and everything. We noticed kind of exactly what you're saying. We were like, wow, she's really pretty organized and wow, she's really, she communicates well and
she's a hard worker.
And wow, she really works hard. And so we were already going, okay, we've got a potential RA here.
Then third day I was already.
And then we're looking and going, this is, it sounds to me like, what we're seeing was a girl that has surrounded herself for a long time, whether intentionally or unintentionally, with all the wrong people. And so what we wanted to see for you was just to see you get a new group of friends. We want to see a new group of people, a new social network and everything.
Well, and also I would say the other agencies that we were working with on your team in particular, we all had this great scheduled plan for you when you first got here. You had a lot of groups and sessions that you would go to.
Yeah.
And I think we could have easily said, oh, let's lighten up on that. No, that's exactly what you needed at the time because that structure from each agency coming in and helping, that to me was really critical to your success, especially in the early days, because you were still pretty fragile then,
I was.
Bless On Track and Options.
Yeah.
I mean, they are phenomenal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, the one thing that I think is good here in Grants Pass, and Southern Oregon in general, but certainly in Grants Pass, is that we've got some really great partner agencies, and Southern Oregon On Track, and then Options also.
Phenomenal.
We've got great people. And at first, kind of, what they are for the person who's in that kind of system of chaos, that they're coming out of. They're isolated and they're alone and everything. What you get is this, it's at first it's a paid group of friends. It's, your counselor is the kind of friend that you ought to have anyways in your life. But at first, you gotta get those people that professional, they're professional friends in a sense. But the truth is these are the kind of people that you want in your life all the time, and whether it's a mental health counselor or a an addiction counselor, or a women's coordinator, and people like that, you have people that come into your life, and the thing that I love about being part of the Gospel Rescue Mission is we have this freedom to, I get, sometimes it becomes a red flag for some people that are like really kind of classically trained in formal counseling, is there's this idea, there's this professional barrier that they like to keep up and everything like that. But one of the things that we feel like is one of the keys to our success is, look, your family, we're friends. We become friends with the people that we work with, on a regular basis, and you can't help it. You're working with people 40 hours a week plus. It would be impossible to keep up barriers everywhere or anything. So instead, what we do is we just kind of dive into it. We embrace it.
Well, and the other residents that are there, when you come in, you don't know anybody, but you quickly made those friendships. Mm-hmm. And it's in those friendships that really your program finds the success, because those ladies aren't just other residents. They become almost like sisters to you. They're family, because they're there when you're crying. They're there when you're breaking down. People might see these two big blue buildings. They have no idea the breaking down and the sadness that people are going through, and that, let's get through that. Let's find the healing, because then the real life begins. Yeah. Then you can move forward joyously, And it's the other residents too that are a part of that full circle of healing that each person gets to enjoy. So
totally, when I talk to pastors who will sit and I've sat there with pastors where we're sitting watching after the sermon's given and everybody's done, and then you're just watching everybody chit-chat in the foyer and stuff like that and visit and everything, and have one of the pastors nudge me and go, "You see that right there? Mm-hmm. That's where the real ministry of this church is happening, right there. It's not in what I just did on stage. It's what's going on right there. It's people connecting. It's people living life together and talking about things and praying with each other and loving on each other and stuff like that." And in the same way, we feel that as staff here too. We come in and put in our 40 hours, but you guys live together, the residents, you live together, and you quickly begin to see, there's just like when you were in jail, there's a couple people that I could maybe get close to, but most of these girls I probably shouldn't. And then you come into the mission, and at first time it's like, okay, maybe the group that I can get close to is a little larger than it was in jail. And maybe there's a smaller group of people that I probably should just kind of keep at arm's distance at first and see what happens. Mm-hmm. But that group does become real, that you bond with. I was watching as we were taking one of the other gals to Faith House, which Faith House is now a transitional house with the Gospel Rescue Mission, and Faith House has been in Grants Pass for a long time. They've folded, it's well known, and it's a great program, and now it's become part of the mission program, and so I was taking one of the girls that's transitioning. She's doing great, and she's transitioning out of the mission and into Faith House, and it was fun bringing her over there. Because you were there, and because there was other girls there, and it was like a party, man. I mean, it was like I felt like a celebrity walking in. Everybody was like Brian and everything, and then it was just so cool because to see everybody cheering each other on, and to me, I mean, that's what my circle of friends do with me, I mean, that's what Shauna's circle of friends does with her, and together our family circle of friends, we do this with each other when we celebrate each other's victories, and we encourage each other through our dry times and hard times and stuff like that, and that's what we're trying to teach. And so when we see it happening, I got to tell you, man, it's the kind of thing that I was on cloud nine, just walking away from there, after just visiting with you girls for 15 minutes, and just coming in, and here you go. And I just thought, man, that is the most special thing that could ever happen, and this is a life-changing time, in your lives and in together and everything. But I got to tell you, even in my life, as I watch that stuff, I mean, it reminds me over and over again about what's good about this place and about what those things are that we do well. So here's where I want to take me back to coming into the mission. Now you said you had done some research. You'd been watching some of the videos that we have on our website, which is at grantspassmission.org, in case anybody's looking, and that tell about this story. And this is going to be one of those videos that adds to that catalog of encouragement that's meant to tell people about why we do what we do, how we do it, and kind of, we just lay it out there. I'm not trying to hide anything. We're trying to be very forward about what's good here and what's going on. Tell me about, like, when you first came. Give me like the two hardest things that you had to adjust to coming to the mission.
Well, when they said the mission, my thought was, oh my gosh. So if you look on TV, right, and they talk about the mission or go to the shelter,
right.
I'm thinking of this huge room, like a cafeteria with beds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, a big dorm room.
Giant colossal dorm room.
Like, you're sleeping next to some guy, or you're sleeping next to some, like a shelter.
Yeah, yeah.
So it kind of scared me, and I was just like, I don't know if I could do that, I need a shelter, but I don't know if that's going to be permanent.
Right.
So when I went online, and I'm like, and everybody's, no, it's not like that. And I go, well, how long can you stay? Or and so I started talking to people about it, my counselor options, and I talked to the girls in jail, and they're like, no, blah blah blah, somebody called you a cult.
Yeah.
Yep, we've been called all kinds of things, right?
So, and I thought, well, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for structure. I'm looking for somebody who's going to help me.
Yeah.
And the community here is like, it's like overwhelming, because from where I come from, California, I never see the community like.
Grants Pass is amazing.
I've got, and and you guys and everything, it's just overwhelming. It's wonderful, and I think for the rest of my life I will want to be a part of that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's just makes me feel really good, and I was proud to buy that shirt, because I'm like, when you were wearing it one day and I saw you guys wearing it, I'm like, I love that shirt, I want one. And then when I seen it at Second Chance, I'm like, I'm buying it, I don't care, give it to me, give it.
That's great.
But anyway, so when I first got here, it took me a while to convince myself to come here. Like I said, I watched your video.
Yeah.
I came over and met them, and I thought, okay, well, I'm going to do it. this is the day I'm doing it. So I picked it. I called the taxi, set up the appointment and everything, checked out of the hotel room, and I came here, and I gave myself the day. And I had already been going to groups. So I had that established. I had my schedule
already started
established.
heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
good.
so when I talked to Shauna and I told her my sobriety was the most important thing, that nothing else mattered, because I really wanted to stay sober. I didn't want to be that person.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the biggest thing for me is, you know, I want to find Kim again. Where's Kim?
Right.
I lost me, you know, and I just felt like this person that was in a hole that, you know, could barely see up, and I just felt like, I don't know. You know, you guys saw what it looked like. But the more I stayed and the more I started working, and well, when I first got here and I went back to the dorm room, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I can do this. You're doing this. You're doing it. You know, and it's like there's not an option. You're doing this. You know.
That's right.
And I was just kind of worried about the other women, you know, and the schedule. The schedule never bothered me. I don't know why. Just none of that ever bothered me.
Yeah.
I was so grateful to have people
Yeah.
that maybe went through the same thing I did, but not. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, that it's okay to be the person you are right now with these people.
Yeah.
You realized you weren't so alone after
Yeah,
all.
and
right?
I was in that hotel room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was so alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I kept thinking, oh, you know, I had to remind myself sometimes that I was alone, because I was so used to my dog being there with me. And
Right,
it's
you didn't even have the dog
I
now.
didn't have him to go walk or do this, and I did. I started walking a lot in town, and that's how I got myself out of the hotel room. And that's when I finally said, okay, well, I'll just stop by On Track and see what it's about.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how I joined because that was one of the stipulations. It's either do this or 18 months in prison. What? You know?
Yeah.
And so I went and I'm like, okay.
Tell me coercion works, right? You know, I mean, you know, when they tell you, I know coercion gets kind of a bad rap, but sometimes some people need to be forced to go in the right direction. And once they're going in the right direction, even though it may be by force at first, you start realizing, hey, this is the direction I really wanted to go all along.
Right.
I just didn't know it, you know, and I needed somebody to make me do this at first. I've seen a lot of people that make great changes because somebody, you know, usually a judge or you know, somebody, a probation officer or whatever, or you know, mental health counselor or somebody that says, you have to do this thing. You know, you have to start doing the right things.
And what was the so what was your probation officer's opinion of your coming to the mission? Were they?
I never met my probation officer. I still haven't.
Really?
Okay. So
they thought you were so fantastic they didn't even need to meet with you.
well, the thing of it is I have restricted supervision.
Okay.
Okay.
So basically, all I
There's a
have
type of
to do is
supervision
check
was.
in once a month,
Yeah.
fill out a piece of paper, and pay the $40.
Yeah.
That's great.
So, but I did call them on the phone. So, and I talked to them for like an hour over the phone, and we went through all this, and you know, and they told me you can't carry weapons, you can't do this, some stuff I would never do anyway.
Right.
You know, but I was like thinking, oh my gosh, you know,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go out and carry a gun, you know.
Right.
But I guess some people do. So, so they went through all that with me, and I was like, okay. But in jail, I was like, man, I could be going to prison.
Mm-hmm.
I really could have been.
Sure,
And
sure.
honestly, I should have been.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I did is I could have killed somebody.
Yeah, it's
They could
pretty
be dead.
pretty
because of
serious
me.
thing. Yeah.
It is a very serious thing. You know, I could have killed somebody and been a murderer, and you know, so and it was a wake up call, big time.
You know, and I think that's
It was-
I think that's really what society wants. When somebody makes a mistake like that, And it's not like, I don't think anybody wants you to be just ground into misery for making the mistake. I think what they really want is for people to recognize the gravity of the situation and feel bad about it. And be like and be determined not to go back and do it again. So, and that sounds like where you're at.
I believe in rehabilitation.
Yeah.
I never knew much about it before.
Sure.
My family's been into drugs, and nobody ever did anything really bad. It's just drugs. But
well, except for beating your mom and your mom being and lots of stuff that goes along with that, right?
That person was never in my family. That person was just
gotcha.
Somebody that.
Okay, but so you say drugs makes us choose bad people to be around and things like that. So even if they're not in our family, I mean, you say I didn't do anything bad, but if I invite a bunch of bad people because my judgment's impaired because I'm intoxicated and everything like that, well, that's pretty bad.
No, you're right.
And so but I get what you also mean. You're saying we weren't the ones that were going out and drunk driving. I mean, it was a rare there was a rare and unheard of thing in your family, and this isn't or we're not robbing liquor stores, or we're not beating up people or something like that.
We were hurting our family by doing the things
that
we were doing. Yeah. So it did damage. It could have been so much more, but we weren't. So,
praise God. Well, we're going to pause right there and pick up part 2 in our next podcast. Again, if there's been things that you really enjoyed about this, would you make a comment on whatever format you're listening through, whether it's iTunes or SoundCloud or any of those things, and just give us a thumbs up, give us a rating and a review. We sure appreciate that. Again, you can always check in with us at grantspassmission.org, and if you'd like to donate, you can donate right on our donate page. Again, thank you. Share this with people, with your friends and your family and people on your social media, because that's the way we get this word out. We do this, and we can't do this without your help. So again, God bless you. Thank you again. We'll look forward to part 2 interview coming up here next week. Have a great day.